Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soul Sparkle Radio. I'm so excited to have you with us today, and I'm also super excited to have my dear friend Josh Becker join us. Hello, Josh.
Hello, thanks so much for having me here. This is great.
Let me just tell you guys a little bit about Josh. He's a life coach and speaker who teaches powerful women who have built successful businesses how to attract the man of their dreams into their life. He has created numerous online audio and video programs, has been on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, Entertainment Tonight, The Daily Love, and Hay House Radio. Josh has been recording a weekly podcast on iTunes, has reached 500,000 people in 166 countries. Wow. His message of personal power are explained in very practical ways through the areas of self-love, self-awareness, and mindfulness. Thank you so much, Josh, for being here. I'm so excited to have you.
Awesome. Can't wait. Can't wait to chat.
Okay, so we were already talking about some really good stuff before we went live, so we're going to try to weave as much of that magic in. But the first really only question I want to start with, Josh, is what makes your soul sparkle? What is the thing that lights you up from the inside out?
I gotta say, real simple, seeing others and being seen by others.
Oh, I love that. You know, what's cool is that one of the things that I always do when I do events and create experiences for Soul Sparkle is I think about what are the ways that I want people to feel. And the first one I always say is I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel known, and I want them to feel loved. So I love that that's like the foundation from where all of your work comes from, just being seen and seeing people. I love it.
Yeah.
And you've been able to weave that in really beautifully into the work that you're doing, right? Like you talk about that, you teach about that, you coach around that as well, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, my work really boils down to us seeing ourselves. And I believe that when we can see ourselves, then that allows other people to see us.
Wow, that's lovely. And you've recently kind of shifted your focus into more of from like a more general like self-love concept to how does self-love show up in relationship, specifically for women that are really successful, powerful in their own right, and they're wanting to call in a partner. So that's a relatively new shift for you, right?
It is, yeah, right, yeah. Helping women to bring these amazing conscious men into their lives.
What made you shift and kind of shift your focus into that area?
Yeah. Well, it was somewhat natural in a sense because 90% of the people that I worked with were women, first of all.
Okay.
So that was kind of an easy thing. I've done a lot of work with men in the past, and locally here, there's an organization that I do work specifically with men. But my presence online has mainly been followed by women. So most of my coaching clients are women, and a lot of them are single women that got out of the relationship or been divorced, and have been really wanting to have that connection and that intimacy with someone who, well, goes back to the beginning of our conversation, is seen and that they can see. And so the work that I'm doing now is no different than the work I was doing before, but we're focusing on things that really keeps women up at night, and men too, by the way. But for purposes of this conversation, it's there's a lot of amazing and beautiful and powerful women that want to be held and want to hold and don't have that opportunity. And when I can show them how to become more connected with themselves and allow for that and celebrate that and be empowered by that, then that allows for that to happen in their life.
I love it. And, we talked a little bit about just the idea of allowing themselves to receive. So I think a lot of times women, especially when they've been successful in a career, or they've really accomplished a lot in their life, and maybe not as much in the love department, they have a harder time allowing themselves to receive and be cared for and be nurtured, right? I think sometimes they have this sense of, I have to do it all by myself. I have to do it on my own. I don't need a man. Do you find that in your work with women that's a common theme? And how do you help them kind of make that shift from like needing to desiring. So that's one thing I always try to do is I don't talk about needing necessarily, but I desire it. Doesn't
Hmm.
I mean I have to have it, but I really do desire it. Do you find that conversation comes up a lot in your work too?
Yeah, well, I think it can be confusing. I think a lot of the women that when they come to me, they're in that transition state, because for women that are that have that resistance around, needing not needing a man, well, they typically don't reach out for support around that, because they're, hey, I don't need a man, I don't need support and that either, by the way. So at that stage we're usually not working together. But what happens is when they start to realize, well, I don't need a man, but to your point, well, how do I and they don't say it in these words specifically, but how do I allow for a man in my life? How do I allow for that room, that space in my life, and still not give myself away in the process? And really, that's what it's about. Really, that's what they're saying. They're not saying I don't need a man. They're saying I don't want to give any part of me away in exchange for a man in my life. And what I believe is that you don't have to. And in fact, the man that you want in your life is the man that's going to want all of you, and not just those perfect parts that we're all striving for.
Right. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that because I do think you're spot on. There is a fear that once you're in a relationship, there are things you have to give up, compromises, and all those things. But I love that to your point, the right one will be able to handle, hold, and care for all the different parts and pieces. You won't have to sacrifice any of those things.
Yeah, that's why you don't have to wait for him. You don't have to wait for the right time. I speak to a lot of women and they say, well, I need to lose a little more weight, or I need to, get my business going a little bit more.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is they don't want a man who wants them just for the way they look or for their money or their status, but they wait to call in a man until they've reached those places. And so then they're confused as to why the men that are coming into their life only want to be with them because of those things. And my friend Sark calls this the messy middle, and we want someone to fall in love with the messy middle, and that's where we are right now. And that's we ebb and flow out and in and out of the messy middle. And
Mhm.
so the more women can embrace the messy middle of their life and allow for it, then the more they can invite a man in who will also, and that's who they really want.
Oh, that's so good. That's really good. And that's so true because otherwise you're constantly striving, you're constantly waiting for the day when, instead of just being okay with what is right now and embracing the imperfection as perfect, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean, and there's confusion around this, because they asked me, so, well, Joshua, but I want, I want to feel better about my appearance, or I want to be physically, a little more fit, or whatever the story is, or I want to make more money. That's great. If you want to, if you want to be more fit, great. If you want to make more money, great. Like, do those things. I'm not, it's not about not doing those things. It's about allowing and embracing what is now
Right.
while you're on your way to getting those things.
Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's good. So around the financial piece, can we talk a little bit about, because I'm sure some of the women, if not most of them, if they like you're talking to professional, very successful women that have their own business,
Mm-hmm.
with that probably comes some financial stability most of the time. Do you find that there's a conversation around how money plays an impact in the relationship when they're calling in their partner?
Well, there are times when they might be a higher earner than than a man, and that can be a tricky situation.
Uh-huh.
And but
That's why
again,
I asked the question because I'm curious.
yeah. Well, again, it goes back to the men that they're attracting, and these women are going to want a conscious man who is who is connecting with them on a level far beyond what their salary is, and in fact, I would argue that the man that they want to call into their life is a man who's going to celebrate their success and support them and cheer them on and think it's a wonderful thing. And if they can't, then that's not someone that they really want to call into their life, to invite into their life. There's a special place where a woman can be where she gets to have gets to invite a man into their life, and where they can say, well, he gets to be with me. And that's not from a place of ego, that's from a place of confidence.
Sure.
When a man gets to be with you, that's a special thing. And the man that gets to be with you is the man that's going to celebrate all of you, whether you are financially successful or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to allow you to celebrate him and to lift him up so that he can, if that's something that he wants in his life, then he can have that too.
Right. I love it. I love the idea of inviting them in and
Mm-hmm.
allowing for it to receive whatever they bring to the table, both,
Yes.
so that's beautiful. So you obviously have done a lot of work personally, I'm assuming, and you've been in this field now for a long time. What were some of the catalysts? Because you don't just like wake up and go, yeah, I'm just going to do this, conscious relating conversations and coaching in this way. Were there things that happened in your life, challenges or struggles or transitional times that you had to kind of get through to get to where you are now? Because I think a lot of our listeners, sometimes they're in transition or they're on the front end and they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's any stories or any process that you went through to get here, would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, for me, I hit my own kind of proverbial rock bottom about 8 or 9 years ago, and really felt myself questioning just even being alive, being here. And I was faced with losing everything that was important to me, and I was about to lose my marriage after just having 2 little kids, and the thought of, if that happens, that not being with them. And my mother at the time was diagnosed with cancer, and the thought of losing her. And I was because I wasn't showing up for work in the way that I should have been because my mind was elsewhere. I was put on a 90-day probationary period, so I was about to lose my job. So everything around me that was important, that I was anchoring to, that I self-identified with, was seemingly going away. And I found myself not allowed back in the house one night, and I was forced to sleep in the car in my own driveway, looking in the house where my wife and 2 children were, and seeing my life almost literally slipping away. And it left me questioning, well, what am I here for? Like, my family is now going to be gone. I'm losing an income. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. What is left? And so I contemplated what it meant, or what I meant, and why I was even here that night. And so that was a challenging night for me. And I sensed that there was something here for me. I just didn't know what it was. And a friend of mine had been urging me to go to a men's workshop here where I live. And it was an 8-month-long workshop. So it wasn't just a little weekend kind of rah-rah thing. It was 8 months, 4 hours a week for 8 months. And it was very intensive, and I didn't want to do it, but I knew I didn't have a choice because I had nothing left. So I did that, and rediscovered who I was and reconnected to myself. And out of that finding who I am, came finding what I'm supposed to do. And so out of that came the responsibility I felt to share my messages with everybody else. Because I knew that if I could impart these tools into my life, and it could change my life so dramatically, that it could do that for other people. And so the things I share today are things that I didn't just come up with on a whiteboard. They were things that literally helped to change my life, and for me to allow me to show up the way that I show up now. So,
Well, it's so beautiful to hear the stories that everyone has a story on a different degree, right? But to hear your story and to see how you've taken the sadness and the suffering and the pain that you had to go through, and then be able to use that now to be a blessing for so many others, right? Like
Yeah.
what a gift that through our pain and suffering, we can take our deepest hurts and our deepest wounds and create our greatest gifts in the world.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
what a blessing that you are willing to share that and willing to use your tools. I'm the same way, like in terms of like the stuff I teach, the only things that ever come out of my mouth is because I've done it myself and I know it works, right? I don't just make stuff up. It's like, no. I do this on the regular, and I know that it's really extraordinarily life-changing. So
Yeah.
what a gift that you're able to use that now. And that's the same group now that you said you serve in your community still, the men's group?
Yeah, the men's group is called Breakthrough for Men. It's been around for 30 years. It's a non-for-profit. And I wound up becoming a teacher there after I went through it myself. And I've been on the board of directors for the last 2 years, and it's been totally voluntary. And so that's been my work, helping men. And the work I do online and has been gender neutral, has been men and women up until recently, when I've decided to work specifically with women right now. But like I said, I was really working specifically with women anyway before. Just
We were just calling it that, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So which is great. I'm for me, it's more about if I can help. I wound up working with some amazingly powerful women who were doing amazing things in the world, and it's not just helping them, because it's helping everybody that they touch. And so that's really what's important for me is being able to affect so many other people, not just the people I directly affect. So I don't. Yeah.
Creating ripples.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Also, I think when each of us show up and do our work, like whatever our gift and our talent is in this lifetime, when we fully step into that and serve in that way, it's beautiful to see what ripples come from. Like one client here, one event here, one thing. It's a huge, beautiful ripple of what magic unfolds after that. So good. So if people wanted to connect with you, obviously Facebook is a great way to do that. Is there anything else that would be of benefit in terms if they wanted additional resources to find out more about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can visit my site at iamjoshbecker.com. And you can go to iTunes and either search for Josh Becker or search for I Simply Am, and I have over 100 episodes there, and so you can listen to your heart's content with those many episodes.
I love it. Yeah, congratulations again on
Thank you.
that impact that you're making with your podcast.
It's fun stuff.
And I do just want to mention that you are one of the big reasons why we're even on Soul Sparkle Radio.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I remember the first time we talked, you're like, do you have a podcast? Because you should. You should really do this.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I appreciate, again, your encouragement. It took me a few months to make it happen, but it's been lovely.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really, really cool. I'm really proud of you for getting your message out there, sharing it, and doing it the way you're doing it in all over the world, and running retreats, and that's awesome stuff. Talk about powerful women.
Well, what's fun is just giving myself permission to do life exactly the way I want to.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was at the post office the other day here in Essex, and I went in, and the lady was like, "Wow, that's a great bag." She commented on my bag, and I told her, it's part of our Soul Sparkle collection, and she's like, "What's that?" I said, "Well, I do this business. I travel around and do a lot of speaking and teaching and events and things." And she was asking me about my address, and I didn't know my address because I'm like, this isn't my house, and the guy's like, how do you not know your own address? And I said, well, it's not mine. I'm just visiting. And I said, I'm traveling, this, that, and the other. And I said, a lot of people think I'm crazy to do life this way. And the woman was like, I don't think you're crazy. I just think you're brave.
That's awesome.
That's so sweet, and it's really just giving people permission to do life in whatever way they desire. So that's it. But it's lovely to be on the journey with you. And I love that you are serving women in this way, because we do need, I think it's helpful to have a dude perspective too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, a lot of my role models and mentors, I mean, like I just mentioned earlier, you know, my close personal friend Sark, and she's an amazing, powerful woman, and
It's amazing.
you know, she's my personal friend, but she's a mentor, and I have a lot of there's a lot of women that have helped me along the way, and so
Yeah.
why not be that for each other? Like it, you know, why
You know
not?
what's interesting about Sark is that I have like 3 or 4 of her books
Hmm.
from 20 years ago.
Wow, yeah,
When I was in college, I think it
yeah,
was college, and I was so in love with the concepts that she created, like
yeah.
eating mangoes naked. I'm like, yes, let's do that. Like she just promoted this really beautiful sense of freedom, and I was still super buttoned up, like, in my little box and paradigm at that point. But she was very influential
Mm.
on just being creative and thinking outside of what everyone else is doing. She was
Yeah.
always outside of the box, and I always thought, wow,
Mhm.
that's so cool, so yeah. Anyway, yes, and so thankful for mentors all the way. Yeah. Okay, darling, is there any last bit of wisdom, advice, guidance, tips that you'd like to share with listeners before we jump off?
Yeah, man, I guess I'll just say that you know, there's always possibility and opportunity for people. So, and you know, life is a practice, so you just keep practicing. And it's important to be surrounded with support. And a lot of us get the message that we're supposed to do life alone, and the reality is we're not. And if you look at any successful person that you look up to, they're all surrounded by people that support them.
Mm,
And you know, it takes some courage and some strength to reach out, you know, for support, and just to admit that, and that's okay.
yeah.
And but once you do, then you know, lots of things can happen. And so I would encourage anyone um, who wants to live a bigger life and wants to see more of themselves and wants to be seen by other people to do that. And whether it's that you listen to, you know, your show or my show, or read a book or get a coach or whatever it is, that just know that, you know, we got one shot to do this thing called life, and we're all really, really lucky to be here to be able to have that experience. And every day we wake up, we get another chance. So
Amen.
yeah,
And it takes a village, doesn't it? It
yeah,
takes a village to make magic happen. Let's just say that. It
yeah,
really does. And we don't have to do it alone. So,
yeah.
well, it's an honor to have you on the journey and an honor to have you on the
Thank
show
you.
today. Thank you so much. And I hope you all will join us for another episode of Soul Sparkle Radio. Thank you.